Well, it's official. Superman is now available on VOD, and its theatrical run is coming to a lackluster conclusion. It's looking like it's going to have a tough time breaking even, but don't tell that to the bots vehemently defending it on every platform possible with expert third-grade cope math. I've decided I do have more than enough to say on the film's quality, so I'll be doing an in-depth breakdown in the near future. But for now, I figure it's time for a little comparison between James Gunn's Superboy and all the rest of the Man of Steel's cinematic outings. I've watched all 7 live-action Superman films, and once again, I will not be including BVS or Justice League, as they are not solely focused on Superman and have a lot more characters and plot lines and background lore to sort through that make it hard to even call them Superman films. Oh crap. I might have accidentally just disqualified the new movie with those criteria. Oh well, it's called Superman at least, right? Okay, enough fooling around. Let's get into it with number 7. Let's start off by softballing in an easy one. Superman 4 is pretty much universally agreed upon as the worst of the Superman movies. Seeing Christopher Reeve light up the screen as the Man of Steel is always a pleasure, even in the lesser films, but let's be honest. This movie came out in the late 1980s and it looks like it came out in the 1950s. Especially when they keep using this same zoom shot of Superman flying over and over. This one. Right here. You see that shit? Seriously, like 7 times they use this thing. The budget cuts are as clear as day, and it's amazing that they were even able to pay Gene Hackman to come back for this one. Apart from that, the plot has an interesting premise, but sadly it is very poorly executed. Especially when compared to the Justice League episode that did a similar disarmament campaign, almost certainly as an homage to this film. It was nice to see an honest-to-God super-powered villain go toe-to-toe with Superman, or at least it would be, in theory, if he didn't look like a cross between a professional wrestler and a gay hairstylist. Also, again, the effects... The main cast all perform their roles as reliably as always, and the new additions aren't bad either. Overall, it's just a low-budget, poorly thought-out 4th sequel from a franchise that is clearly getting a little too long in the tooth. No surprise, it lines the bottom of most people's lists. Again, probably not a surprise. I know some people have a soft spot for this quirky Richard Pryor comedy that sometimes has guest appearances from Superman, but I personally can't stand it. Richard Lester's slapstick comedy style is ill-suited to Superman as a character, and it drives me berserk. It's part of why I don't particularly like Superman 2 as much as I used to. I won't hold it against that movie, as it's basically 2 directors fighting over the same script, but as far as this film goes, this is all Lester. It's dumb and goofy and revolves around computers and the internet, but is still in that awkward phase of Hollywood when writers didn't know what could be done with computers and just assumed they were magic boxes that could do anything. They would eventually be proven right with how much we rely on them today, but in 1983 I don't think they were hacking weather satellites and synthesizing alien minerals. I like the junkyard fight. I don't understand the junkyard fight, but I like it. Also, the evil Superman memes alone are worth it. I'd normally wait till the full breakdown was complete on a new movie before I dunk on it and summon an angry swarm of super toddlers who think every brand new thing is the best thing ever, and every old thing was only universally praised because their dumb, old, out-of-touch parents didn't know any better back in the prehistoric era. But I feel pretty confident in my initial assessment of the problems with this movie. It breaks its own premise in the very ill-advised opening crawl and never recovers from its pants-shittingly incompetent writing. Gunn's attempt at silly, over-the-top, light-hearted comic book wackiness is weighed down by his heavy-handed political pandering and the tell-don't-show style of shallow performative moral grandstanding and virtue signaling. The performances are fine for what the actors are given, but what they're given is simplistic cardboard cutout characters who don't resemble their comic book counterparts even for a second. The themes and messaging of the film are poorly handled and abhorrent if your moral reasoning is beyond that of a 3-year-old. It's a complete disservice to the character of Superman, a messy first entry in a budding cinematic reboot franchise, and an overall incoherent mess of a film. Now hold on there, gun nuts. I'm an equal opportunity hater. Bad films are bad films and I don't play favorites. Man of Steel is a bad movie all by itself without comparison to the newest incarnation, no matter how much money it made. But the ways in which it is bad are far less catastrophic than the ways in which the new Superman movie is bad. Man of Steel has nonsensical technology, idiotic spacefaring civilizations that purposely cause their own extinction, moronic generals, scientists, parents, superheroes, and journalists who all act as though they have no idea how their jobs work. Almost like the writer has no idea how their jobs work. It doesn't, however, have universe-shattering world-building mechanics like the fact that a normal human scientist can create his own pocket universes, cure all human ailments and mortality itself with nanobot implants, clone the most powerful being in the universe, but somehow still wants land deals with foreign governments and thinks he needs government permission to kill Superman when he clearly has all the means to wipe him out and take over the Earth all by himself! Whoops. Sorry, I'm already back to shitting on the new one. Man of Steel. It's bad. The script is terrible and the performances are nothing to write home about. It looks okay, but it's basically just an edgy 14-year-old's idea of what a Dragon Ball Z movie could look like with a DC skin over the top of it. There's a reason the DCEU got scrapped. Snyder's vision for DC on film was not the right direction to take the studio, even if it had the occasional financial success. It's a damn shame Henry Cavill didn't get a good Superman script, but I can't pretend that I miss the Snyderverse all that much. Don't hurt me! Alright, I know I'm gonna get shit for this, but I had a revelation upon rewatching both the theatrical cut and the Donner cut. Turns out they're both terrible. I think the Donner cut is slightly better as it doesn't have the absurd Lester slapstick comedy oozing out of every orifice, but the truth is that the films are not all that different, seeing as how they share most of a script, and that script is a bit of a stinker. I think Brando being in the film is a necessity, but overall, the plot of both films is pretty nonsensical. Superman spends the entire runtime romancing Lois, somehow completely oblivious to the destruction Zod and his cohorts are wreaking on the planet even though he has super hearing. In the Lester version, there's so many weird plot holes that come from having to reshoot worse versions of scenes that Donner already shot to appease the Directors Guild, and the Donner cut has weird scenes to fill holes from his original version of Superman the movie and its original ending that got scrapped back in '78. Based on the ending, the Lester version is the one that is canon to Superman Returns, because the Donner version has Superman reverse time again so that the whole film doesn't even happen. It's a frustrating mess of a sequel no matter which version you watch, but the truth is that Superman 2 is barely a coherent film. The performances from the main cast are as charming as ever, but in the end, it just can't live up to its predecessor. Now hear me out. I get the feeling most of the people who hate this movie haven't watched it since it came out in theaters. Yes, it's long, yes, it can be a little boring, yes, it was a weird decision to make Clark a deadbeat dad and a super stalker, but as a story overall, it's pretty tight. Not a lot of holes in it, the acting is solid all around. I think both Routh and Spacey give massively underrated performances, and I think it has that hopeful, optimistic tone that Gunn told everybody he was going for, and that the Snyder films were sorely missing. I think it gets a bad rap, and it's worth revisiting if you're looking to recapture some of what made the original Superman film so great. Speaking of which... Well, yeah, no friggin' duh, right? I mean, was this even really a contest? Sometimes you nail it on the first go, and you spend the next 50 years trying to replicate that success. Superman the movie captured a generation and many generations to come with a magical vision of the Man of Steel on screen for the first time. This was the movie that made the world realize that comic books and superheroes could be treated with the same gravitas and respect as any other serious film. It also helps that they found a once-in-a-lifetime casting miracle in at-the-time unknown Christopher Reeve. To this day, he is considered the living embodiment of Superman, so much so that some artists still use him as a likeness in some comic books. Gene Hackman brought some much-needed star power and legitimacy to the film with his loud, boisterous Lex Luthor, and while he's not my personal favorite, I can't pretend he didn't cement his version of the character in the public consciousness. Margot Kidder did the same for Lois Lane. She nails every aspect of the character to a T, and her chemistry with Reeve make them a cinematic power couple for the ages. The effects are about as good as they could get at the time, and while I'm not a huge fan of the reverse time plot point, I've recently read a surprising amount of Silver Age Superman stories where he solves his problems with time travel, so what the hell do I know? The point is, this movie truly did make the world believe a man could fly. It was groundbreaking and inspiring, and while I would truly love to get another Superman film as amazing as this one, I'm not sure it will ever be topped. And there you have it. I hope I didn't throw too many curveballs at you. I'll be honest, this was a lot harder to rank than the Batman films. A lot of that probably comes from the fact that I haven't watched these films nearly as many times or as often as the Batman movies, but I honestly think it comes from the fact that this series' only obvious standout was the original, and the rest were all varying degrees of okay to awful. My perspective now is that there really only is one good Superman film, and that's the original. And even that movie has flaws. You know what? Actually, yeah, good point, me. I've changed my mind. The only good version of Superman outside of the comics is Superman the Animated Series, and I'll die on that hill! Well, kids, that's all I've got for now. Like I said earlier, I'm still planning on doing a full breakdown of James Gunn's Superman, and I have a few other projects I'm mulling over that could take some time, so I won't get your hopes up just yet. Until then, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you around.